presentation. Before starting today, the JDC West Organizing Committee would like to make a land acknowledgement. The University of Saskatchewan Saskatoon campus is located on Treaty 6 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis. We pay our respect to the First Nations and Métis ancestors of this place and reaffirm our relationship with one another. We pledge ourselves to create a competition that celebrates the diverse cultures and history of this land. Thank you to our judges, Kenzie Bergeron, Kelly Lindsay, Jamie Prefontaine, Rory Nussbaumer, and Shanuka Vikramasinghe. My name is Emily, and I will be the academic moderator for this presentation. Competitors will have a maximum of 20 minutes to present. Immediately following the presentation, judges will have a total of 5 minutes to ask the presenters questions. Our academic timekeeper, Sunana, will hold up the timing cues throughout the presentation and the question period. Judges will indicate their intent to ask a question through raising their hand. I, the presentation moderator, will call on them to ask their question. Once the question period has concluded, the delegates will be escorted to leave the room. No questions or comments will be permitted from the audience at any time. Please ensure that your cell phones are turned off to silent and that there is no talking amongst yourself or signaling to the competitors throughout their presentation. The clicker, and you're free to begin.
Hi, Maria.
Hey, Nuha.
Do you know that stories are everywhere?
Oh, really? Please share with us.
Well, yes, they're all around us. Not only are stories in libraries, but you can also find them in nature and in art. You know where else you can find stories, Maria?
Where?
Beer. Beer tells stories. And how, you may ask? Well, the dent in your beer can be the story from when you were celebrating with your friends a bit too enthusiastically with your cheers after your favorite sports team won. Or an empty beer can be the story of the beer you used to celebrate after you got a new job promotion. So, stories are everywhere. Are you listening? Hi, my name is Nuha.
And I'm Maria.
And today we are thrilled to be helping you write your story. You have the opportunity to write your own legacy and not let anyone else write it for you. How will your story unfold? Let us walk you through it.
So as Nuha said, stories truly are everywhere, and today we're here to tell you a story about you. Starting off with chapter 1, I'll begin with walking us through the problem identification. Then moving on to chapter 2 will be an in-depth analysis of your company, and then Nuha will finish off your story with the recommendation and implementation. So, with problem identification, with any story, there are plot holes, and we want to walk you through those today. Starting off with storyline. Are you currently following the trends in the industry? Is there a way that you can continue or advance ahead? What are the future trends? Second off, character clash. Is this acquisition that you're heading into, does the company mirror your values, your culture? Are they offering an economic that is valued for your business? And how is that going forward? And finally, the next chapter. After taking all this into consideration, what are your assets? What are your liabilities? What should you be doing? And what is your next step? So before doing into a deep dive in these problems, I want to start off with talking about the user strategic objectives, which are essentially the character goals. What are you, as the main characters of a story's goals? Well, you said that you want to become the icon of Canadian spirit by crafting the best tasting, highest quality, and most accessible beer made with Canadian ingredients by Canadian brewers. And I want you to remember those two words, Canadian ingredients and Canadian brewers. Second off, what do your customers want from you? Well, they want to support a business that shares their values. And finally, your employees want to work for a company that shares their culture and offers those competitive wages. So now to take a deep dive into the problems I previously identified, starting off with storyline. How can Gradient Brewing adapt to these market trends? Well, first of all, what are the current market trends? It's funny because you're actually seeing a split in the market. First, there's an era of consolidation where Moore's Inc. owns 40.1% of the market share in Canada, but there's also an era of craft breweries where the craft breweries' popularity is surging despite the overall decrease in popularity of beer. So which side do you want your story to be on? And then finally, the future. We see that there's this sustainable beer trend, which with locally produced beer and sustainably minded breweries. And I've already highlighted that you guys are the Canadian brewing company. You want those Canadian ingredients. There's also consumer activism. I mean, just lately there's been the Balenciaga controversy with the child abuse, and you can see that a whole number of people are boycotting their company. So it's really important to take into fact that consumers now are putting their money where their values are. And then finally, there's lots of new trends in the market for beer. For example, 0% beer, which has no alcohol beer, which kind of promotes inclusivity. Everyone should be able to drink, whether it's alcoholic or not. So I believe that Gradient Brewing is able to step up and align itself with these future trends of the market. Now moving on to character clash. You have been proposed to be acquired and are on the step or on the ways to being acquired, but does Empire Brewing really align with your values? Is this the story that you want to be told? So the heroes or the pros with Empire Brewing is that it can strengthen and grow the brewing business beyond Western Canada. It can also be the easy way out of your current growing pains that I will be focusing on later. And it will also provide you with the resources for innovative new products. However, there are villains. There's 100% of your equity is being sold. You'll no longer have ownership. So yes, you may thrive, but you will not have any stake in this. It will also go against your mission of being those Canadian ingredients by Canadian brewers because Empire is not Canadian. And lastly, there is a sexual harassment scandal that was present in Empire's company, and it has been told that there's a pattern of behavior. Do you really want to associate your company, for your Canadian homegrown company, with Empire that has been associated with scandals such as sexual harassment when there is consumer activism that's a trend in this market? And to just follow on with the valuation of your business, just using the earnings before interest, tax and depreciation, the multiple is 22.59, which would put your business at a value of $415 million. And they're offering $120 million. And I'm not saying that they're lowballing you, because let's be honest, there are some pitfalls or plot holes in your business currently. But I'm showing what your business could be if you take the time to fix your plot holes yourself. You have $1.5 million in cash right now. You have PP&E or property, plant, and equipment of $135 million. And you have earnings before interest, tax, and depreciation of $18.9 million. You are standing strong. So Empire's culture does not align with your mission, and you have the resources to become worth more than them. So before I move on, I want to just draw your attention to the deal that's being offered on the table right now. I've highlighted what you could be worth, but this is what they're offering. $60 million in cash on the closing date. That's pretty good. But then they have the rest of the $60 million contingent on 3 milestones by 2024, 2026, and 2028, eventually expecting a $15 million increase in net income. Yes, they're giving you resources to go along with this, but here are the roadblocks they're currently facing: the location of production facilities and machine deterioration, labor and distribution costs, raw material prices, and competition. Will they really be able to help you get rid of all of these roadblocks in time to make it and still reach the $60 million? Currently, they're not even being able to transfer more than 2 of your facilities within 1 year time. So you're still going to be using 9 of your facilities, and your biggest problem right now is the fact that your production facilities and your machine are deteriorating at speedy rates compared to what they should be. So are you going to be able to reach these milestones and get this extra $60 million when they're not giving you the resources, the key resources you need to succeed? So roadblocks are possible to climb. Choose the right way, not the easy way. And with our recommendation, Nuha's going to detail this. So starting off with this, we have the storyline problem that I've outlined for you today. Are you following the trends of the market? Nuha, what do you recommend that they do so we do follow the trends of the market?
Well, with storyline, we're going to tackle this through empowerment, and I'll get into that a bit more right away here.
And second, character clash. I've detailed that I don't believe that your company does fit with Empire's values, not only to talk about the sexual harassment claims, but also by what your company could be versus the $60 million that they're currently offering you. Nuha, what do you propose for that?
Well, we're going to tackle the problems brought forth by character clash through enablement. And again, just wait up, I will talk more about that right away.
And lastly, the next chapter. Is the next chapter for you Empire, or is it something else? Nuha?
We'll leave the suspense, and we'll get into that right now.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you. Okay, so with no further ado, introducing Write. Write is an actionable plan to help you write your own story, not let anyone else write it for you, and do what's right. And as you'll see, it pays to do the right thing all the time. And so now with this new actionable plan, our recommendation that we're bringing forth for you to continue with your purposeful mission and have longevity and you can be team profit and team ethics at the same time. So why are we doing this? You have the opportunity to go beyond performative activism. Many corporations now have the reputation that maybe they'll change their logo for Pride Month, but what are they doing beyond that? There's a lot of performative activism going on. You have the opportunity to actually take real impactful action and carry out your activism beyond just what you stand for, but also with what you're implementing. Additionally, you're doing really well financially now as is, and yes, it's attractive, this big corporation with all these networks, but it is not worth their bad values because it's going to take over and infect the good values that you've worked so hard to grow and foster and build on throughout the existence of your company. And because you're doing this, it's also enticing for investors. So we're seeing a growth in venture capitalists that are focused on purposeful and impactful businesses that have a proper cause. Also, Write will help you build a strong and lasting legacy that uplifts your founding values. So again, staying true to what you are from the start and carrying forth with that. It would really be a shame if you let someone take all the work that you did and smear over it with their lack of values. And so Write, you can see the E in Write is a 3. Why? Because we have 3 E's. Those 3 E's in this actionable plan that we have for you are empower, enable, and engage, which again tackle the 3 main issues that Maria brought forth earlier. Now, how are we going to empower? It'll be through activism, which I'll go into more detail about very soon. How are we going to enable? Through innovation. And how are we going to engage? Through presence. So again, our recommendation is Write, which has the 3 E's, empower, enable, and engage. And we are confident that this will help set you up for a great future. And you'll be able to write your own story with this. So starting out with empower, and this is empowerment through activism again. The 2 parts to empowerment are purposeful campaigns and impactful alliances. Now, what do we mean by this? Well, through purposeful campaigns, we propose that 1% of all your sales go towards important causes. This will help you grow your corporate social responsibility and also differentiate you from your competitors. Because so many competitors, they're just sending out their beers, but what else are they doing, you know? So also, there can be organization-specific stamps that go on the bottom of every can. So when you partner with an organization and their purposeful cause, you can put a stamp on the bottom of the can. That way it's easy and it doesn't change your production process much and it's not costly. And also it adds something for the consumer. When they're looking to go buy your beers, it's almost like a fortune cookie. You're always excited to crack it open and see what's inside, or a Jones can when you open it and you see what the little quote is on there. Consumers will look forward to checking the can because different batches will be associated with different organizations. An example of this can be sexual assault awareness. You can partner with an organization in Saskatchewan that helps tackle sexual assault awareness, and then of course, then it benefits them because you're helping create an impact, and it also benefits you because now you have more of a purpose and it differentiates you from your competitors. Impactful alliances, again, partnering with various charitable organizations, and partners rotate for different batches. So then you can expand the good that you're doing too, and you can access their network, and it'll be a symbiotic relationship where you're both able to uplift each other. Now, the second part of our recommendation, which is Write, is enable, and this is enablement through innovation. So not only are we going to pitch you some innovative product lines, but also innovative financing. And so going into more depth now, innovative product lines. So we think that you should introduce a 0% alcohol-free beer because this taps into a new market. There are so many people that for various reasons, alcohol just isn't for them, and that's perfectly fine. And we want that, since you're already working towards this image that uplifts everyone. We want you to be more inclusive, and we think that this line will help you achieve that. And then you're also furthering your equity, diversity, and inclusion efforts that way as well with this new line. And it gives your customers more choices. And there's so much power that comes with choice, and we think that you should really look to capitalize on that. Now with innovative financing, so you really want to make sure that you're seeking out investors whose values align with yours. You grew so quickly starting out, and you want to make sure that you're continuing to grow. And you don't need this big corporation that completely lost sight of its values to help you do that. There are so many investors that are willing to go and partner with you, especially if you have such a unique differentiating mission, such as what we're proposing. A great example of this is Good and Well, which is a venture capital firm that is based in Toronto, and it's an impact-based venture capital firm. They have so many resources, and they're able to help so many companies, and they're not just going to give you this equity financing, they're also value-added investors. And a company such as Gradient, if you take on this extra added site of corporate social responsibility, they would jump on an opportunity like this. So this is just one example of a venture capital firm that you could look to partner with. Now getting to the third and final part of our right recommendation, and we'll get into how to implement it right away. And this is engagement through messaging. So we want to make sure that you're communicating effectively and that you're involved in the community, and also through strategic restructuring, so that where you're based and where you're producing your lines, you can make sure that you're engaged in those communities as well, and you just build on your strengths. So again, with engagement, this is communication and involvement, and you're going to have to communicate to your employees and your shareholders that the deal is not going through. The employees will be pleased to hear that, because they're probably a bit concerned now because there's uncertainty when it comes to their jobs. And now, since you're staying true to what you've always done, they'll be pleased that there's growth opportunities with their current jobs as well. And you're going to make sure that you're explaining the reasoning and the purpose. So because you're not only team profit, you're also team ethics and team doing what's right now. You do not have to choose. Because you're in good financial standing and you're doing well now, you have the opportunity to do this. And again, as we've been saying, write your own story. And again, employees will feel very valued that you chose to say no to a company that did something wrong, and they'll feel so supported, and they'll be more passionate in their work. Through strategic restructuring, we propose that you close two factories in Manitoba because we think there's better margins if you bring them closer to Saskatchewan or Alberta, since that's already where you're doing so great. And then that way, we'll open up more jobs there. And when you're ready to expand into Manitoba or BC or Ontario, that's when you can look to open more facilities there. But right now, you do need to shake things up a bit, and you do need to do some restructuring, and that's okay. And then looking to strategically improve your equipment and update them in your remaining facilities. So this will come with the help of your new investors that are value added and financially added as well. And then we propose that you close your tap rooms and partner with local bars and hotels, because again, right now they have negative cash flow. And we think that there's strength in these partnerships and these alliances. And again, you're uplifting each other, and you're really getting a stronghold in your local communities, which again is so true to your founding values. And now taking you through a bit of an implementation plan for this. So we have a plan announcement. So you'll announce this to your shareholders and your employees so that they're aware of what's going on, and there's going to be all these different questions. So you want to make sure that you're introducing a feedback loop as well, where you're hearing what they have to say and just streamlining that process. And also this can help in terms of your branding, because you already made the announcement and told everyone that you're going that way, and then you're going to have to tell them that you're choosing to do what's right. Another good thing is the employee cause pitch program, which you can help employees, let them pitch causes for you to take on with your beers. And I'll pass it back to Maria to take you through a financial analysis.
Thank you. So as we said, there's stories everywhere, and numbers also tell stories. So what do your numbers tell me? Well, if you do choose to follow through with this recommendation, we believe that you should be incurring operating expenses, and it is quite a hefty sum, about 50 million over the next 5 years. That's because we're proposing that you close 2 facilities, open 2 new ones, and upgrade your equipment, but this is ensuring you for long-term success. Afterwards, we just expect your operating expenses to decrease 5% after year 1, just after closing those 2 facilities and opening new upgraded facilities. And we also expect a revenue increase of 5% in year 1 just because of all the new marketing campaigns that New has pitched, and then afterwards a 1% increase just from those sustained customers that you have in fact gotten. And you can see that with this plan, the payback period is only 2 years, just because you are making very, very high profits now, but this ensures that you will obtain the operating efficiency and the operating expenses you need to continue to have sustainable growth in the future as well. And for risks and mitigations, the board reaction obviously is one. It is a likely occurrence, but not so severe, because they have already expressed worry about the current plan. And then employee confusion is also one, but NUHA has detailed how we would sit them down, discuss them, and tell them this is actually in good consideration for their jobs. So in conclusion, beers do tell stories, and there are stories everywhere. And now you have the opportunity to rewrite your ending, one that is legendary, filled with passion and purpose. And with our recommendation, we are confident
that it will work.
We'll start the timer for 5 minutes.
I'll start. I've got a question. Timeline, 0% beer. I'm with you. I mean, we've got to follow the market trends, and even now they're coming out with, the medical society is now saying 2 drinks a week. I mean, these things will change, but my question is, why year 3? That's a lifetime away.
Yeah, so that's a really great question. Our idea with this is because, again, you're taking such big shifts, and we want to make sure that you focus on finishing what you need to get done first, which is the communication plan, and making sure you're doing your due diligence and your research and development, because what happened previously? We want to learn from our previous chapters, the previous stories. You grew a bit too quickly, and then you had some beers go and spoil because you grew too fast for what you were ready for. So we said year 3 because we want to make sure that you're doing your research, you're making sure that you're picking proper production facilities and creating a good team for this, and you're prepared for the launch, and you're not jumping ahead of the gun. So when it launches strongly, and it's able to generate that revenue for you and grab onto that new market.
Good job, ladies. Let's do a quick scenario. So I'm the CEO. I now have to present your solution to my shareholders and my board. They know there's a $120 million deal on the table that I'm now going to say no to because of your recommendation. You're proposing, with all of your efficiencies, around a 33% increase over the next 3 years. That's still not going to get me to the valuation of $120 million. So what is it in a few sentences that I'm going to sell to my shareholders and my board because of this decision?
it's not 120 million, it's 60 million. It will be 400 million if you can implement these changes. Thank you.
Thanks, ladies.
There is that clause, you gotta make those milestones.
So, we know our founders really well, Samantha and Addison, and they are, relieved that this transaction is happening. Is there a risk that they're gonna walk away as the heart of the company?
That's another great question. So as the heart of the company, of course, they've been with it for many years and they know it well. So if they're relieved with this big deal and then they're just letting their work go, that means they weren't passionate about it. And did you want your leaders to be furthering the company if they've burnt out of it a bit? So maybe it's time for some leadership changes, but also with this plan that we've introduced, it's something different. It gives them the opportunity to change up the daily tasks that they've been doing a bit because there's this new project and a new era for Gradient. So hopefully if they're just after the money, then maybe their values weren't aligned. And it gives you another great opportunity again to do what's right and hopefully grow their passion with it. And if not, then there's so many other people whose hearts are in the right place that would jump at a leadership opportunity and hopefully bring some new change because they'll be enthusiastic to start something new.
a really large clash in regards to kind of reputational differences between each of the companies. I was just wondering if you could summarize in a little bit more detail on how you came to that kind of conclusion in regards to the two. It's really hard to measure reputation, so just trying to understand exactly how you measured that risk, and then also a little bit into how you're measuring the opportunity of being more impact-based, what opportunities are available for being more of a socially, environmentally conscious brand, and maybe what the other competitors are looking at.
Thank you. Yeah, so obviously Empire is a huge conglomerate that spans nations, and currently you're focused in Western Canada. So already you get to make an impact in the community that they will not be able to reach. And then of course there is a sexual harassment scandal that's on top of that, and said it was a repeated pattern of behavior. So obviously they're not tackling this within their company, and you do not want to be associated with any company these days that is not following the consumer activism trend that we are seeing prominent in the market. So there's that. And by staying alone in this market and by staying independent, you're able to put your money and profits, as Nuha said, to what counts. So you're able to actually donate to the sexual harassment that's occurring in the company that you're perhaps going to be acquiring with if you continue. Or you're able to reach out to, for example, out Saskatoon and make the difference in the cities that you're currently selling to. Thank you.